Okay, let's just dive right into this. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a story that is honestly absolutely fascinating. We're looking at ambition, family, and the literal birth of two massive global brands that I guarantee you already know. But it's also a story that perfectly shows how incredible success can sometimes come with a seriously heavy personal cost. So get comfortable, because we're going to break down how a shared, quiet dream turned into a worldwide phenomenon. And, at the exact same time, one of the most bitter family feuds in history. Two brothers, one wash house, two global empires, and zero words spoken to each other for 30 years. I mean, just think about that for a second. 30 years. I want you to really hook into this because this isn't just some dusty, dry history. This is the secret history behind the very shoes that are probably sitting right there in your closet right now. Whether you're just going for a casual walk or you're a hardcore athlete, the footwear you rely on was shaped by the incredible and kind of tragic dynamic between these two guys. Section 1. A small-town washhouse dream. Herzogenaurach, 1919. Picture this. We're in the early 1900s, down in the south of Germany, a quiet little town on a river, surrounded by green fields. This is way, way before giant global sports logos were plastered all over our TVs and billboards, right? Back then, you had this young guy who just started taking leftover canvas and scraps of soft leather, and he was stitching them together in his mom's tiny, dark wash house. The place literally smelled like soap and warm water. That was Adolf, or Adi, Dassler. He was the quiet one, careful, a total craftsman. Adi was the absolute heart of the Dassler brothers' shoe factory. He was obsessed, like constantly tinkering, trying to improve the shoe itself. Now his older brother, Rudolf, complete opposite. Strong, super confident, a natural salesman, and definitely the loud voice of the company. He just knew exactly how to get people to believe in what they were making. And that's the crucial thing to understand here. Their completely opposite personalities fit together like puzzle pieces to build this dream. Section 2. The Olympic Breakthrough. Stepping onto the world stage. So having local success in your hometown is great and all, but the whole game shifted in 1936. Things just exploded when the Olympics came to Berlin. Adi Dassler decided to make a really bold move. He packed up this little bag full of his handmade, ultra-lightweight running shoes, and he literally talked his way into the Olympic Village just to find one specific American athlete, Jesse Owens. Owens tried the shoes on, felt the difference right away, and then, well, you know history. He went out and won 4 gold medals wearing those exact shoes. With literally the entire world watching that stadium, the superior design and speed of the Dassler brothers' creation was proven instantly. Talk about the biggest possible stage, right? A young man from a small German wash house had made the shoes worn by the fastest man in the world. Just let that sink in for a second. It's almost like a movie plot. Naturally, the second the world saw this happen, the floodgates opened. Orders were just pouring in. Every athlete on the planet suddenly wanted a pair of those shoes. They had to hire way more workers, completely expand the factory, and boom, their little washhouse dream had officially transformed into a booming, undeniable global reality. Section 3. War and the Great Divide. The shadow forms. But look, history is almost never just a straight line going up. Right at the absolute peak of their global breakthrough, a shadow started to form. Just 3 years after that massive high of the 1936 Olympics, the Second World War broke out in 1939. And it changed everything for them. The joy of creating sports shoes vanished because the factory was forced to pivot and churn out heavy, clunky boots for soldiers. Under the sheer, crushing stress of the war and just trying to survive, something between the brothers broke. To this day, people still debate the exact reasons. Some say there were these murky personal betrayals involving the authorities. Others say their wives just couldn't stand each other and fought constantly, or that old business arguments finally boiled over. But whatever the actual spark was, by 1948, the mutual trust between Adi and Rudolf had completely evaporated, and it led to a really painful final split. Time and silence did what no argument ever could. That is the real tragedy of the Dassler story right there. You see, their breakdown wasn't necessarily this one massive, explosive screaming match where they stormed off. It was a slow fade, a death of communication. They just stopped looking each other in the eye. They let the silence stretch out for so long that they eventually just forgot how to love each other as brothers. Section 4. A Town Cut in Half. The Birth of Rivals. Okay, so by 1948, it was clear they couldn't even be in the same building anymore. They had to divide the whole thing. They literally physically split the company right down the middle. Audi stayed and created Adidas, Audi plus the first part of his last name, Dassler. He introduced those famous three stripes, and he stayed fiercely focused on the athletes and the pure quality of the shoe. Meanwhile, Rudolf actually crossed the Oryx River, set up a rival factory on the exact opposite bank, and launched Puma. He picked a strong, fast animal for his logo and leaned incredibly hard into his own strengths: aggressive marketing, fierce competition, and speed. So from the ashes of this one amazing partnership, two separate massive empires were born. Now, what's truly wild and honestly kind of sad is how deeply this family feud infected the actual town. Herzogenaurach literally became known as the town of bent necks. Why? Because residents would constantly look down at a stranger's shoes before even saying hello, just to figure out if they were talking to a friend or an enemy. It was that intense. If you worked for Adidas, there was no way you were buying bread from a baker who wore Pumas. Even the local football clubs split up over it. The entire town was basically forced to pick a side in this giant family war. Section 5. The Silent Legacy. Two empires, one tragedy. Over the following decades, both of these brands absolutely took over the globe. I mean, their shoes ended up on the feet of millions, everyday people, superstar athletes, from the streets of London all the way over to Tokyo. On paper, they both got exactly what they wanted: massive business success. But here's the tragic conclusion. Rudolf passed away in 1974, and Audi died 4 years later in 1978. After 30 whole years of complete and utter silence, they never reconciled. Never. Not even at the very end. Even in death, they were buried in the exact same small-town cemetery, but they were deliberately placed on opposite sides of the graveyard. Two men, resting near each other, but forever separated by this huge gulf that neither of them would ever cross. So, what does this all mean for us? What's the real takeaway here? Well, first, what we build together is almost always greater than what we can ever build alone. Second, people. Our family, our friends, the folks who actually walk through life with us, they matter so much more than any business competition or some giant empire. And finally, there's a really profound warning buried inside the massive success of Adidas and Puma. The true story of these brands is a giant flashing warning sign about letting silence and just plain stubbornness completely destroy the relationships that actually matter. I want to leave you with this one final lingering thought. The next time you sit down and tie your shoes, whether they've got three stripes, a leaping puma, or literally anything else, ask yourself, what is the true cost of an empire? Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating explainer with me today. I really hope it makes you look at the everyday things you wear in a completely new light. Keep learning, stay curious, and I'll catch you on the next one.